The President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump, is going to meet Canada's new Prime Minister. His name is Mark Carney. This will be their first big meeting as leaders of their countries. They will meet at the White House. This is the President's main office in Washington, D.C. This meeting is very important because the USA and Canada have many serious things to talk about. People in both countries and around the world will watch closely. For many years, Canada and the USA were good friends and partners. But recently, their relationship has become difficult. They have some disagreements. President Trump made some strong decisions about Canada. He put new taxes on some things Canada sells to the USA. These things include steel, aluminum, and car parts. Mr. Trump thinks these taxes help American workers and businesses. But the taxes make it harder for Canadian companies to sell their products in the USA. Sometimes, President Trump made jokes. He said Canada might become a part of the USA, like the 51st state. These words made many people in Canada worried. The trust between Canada and the USA, built over many years, has been damaged. Mr. Mark Carney became Canada's Prime Minister a short time before this meeting. People in Canada chose him because they wanted a strong leader. They hope Mr. Carney can solve the problems with the USA. He promised to protect Canada and its businesses. His job now is to make the relationship with the USA better, but also to be firm and protect Canada. This is a hard job for a new leader. The meeting in Washington is urgent. Both leaders know they must talk soon. They have many important topics to discuss. President Trump also said that America did not really need Canadian wood or energy. These words and the new taxes caused many problems. The trust between Canada and the USA, built over many years, was broken because of these troubles. Many people in Canada felt worried. They thought a lot about their relationship with the USA. This was an important topic in Canada's recent election. Canadians wanted a strong leader. They chose Mark Carney as their new Prime Minister. Mr. Carney had been Prime Minister for only a few days. He made a big promise to the Canadian people. He said he would stand up for Canada and would not let the USA push Canada around. He told Canadians their country was in a difficult situation. He promised to work hard to protect Canada and what was important to it. On May 5th, everyone was thinking about the meeting. Mr. Carney was getting ready to travel to Washington. He knew he had a big job. He needed to talk to President Trump about the tariffs. He wanted to fix the problems between the two countries. This meeting was urgent. It was planned soon after Mr. Carney won the election because the problems were serious. People wondered if the two leaders could agree. Could they fix the broken trust? The day before the meeting was full of questions and uncertainty. The morning of May 6th was very important for Canada and the USA. Prime Minister Mark Carney flew to Washington, the capital of the USA. He went to the White House, a famous white building where the American president lives and works. Mr. Carney was there for a big meeting with President Donald Trump. President Trump met Mr. Carney inside the White House in the Oval Office. The Oval Office is a special round room where the president does important work. When Mr. Carney arrived, President Trump smiled and looked happy to see him. They shook hands firmly as photographers took many pictures. People watching said the atmosphere was friendly and polite. Mr. Trump said it was an honor to have Mr. Carney visit the White House. Both leaders said nice things to each other. Mr. Carney told President Trump he was a transformational president, a leader who makes big changes. He also said Mr. Trump cared a lot about the economy. President Trump said he just wanted to be friends with Canada. He hoped the two countries would always have a strong relationship. For a few moments, they even laughed together. It seemed the meeting was starting well. But after the greetings, the talk became more serious. President Trump began to share his big ideas about Canada. He talked about the new taxes on Canadian products like steel, aluminum, and cars. These taxes worried Canada a lot. Mr. Trump also spoke about how the U.S. military helps protect North America. Then, President Trump talked again about his big idea, that Canada might become part of the United States. President Trump called his idea a wonderful marriage. He suggested Canada could become the 51st state of the United States. He also said America does not need many Canadian products like cars or wood. He made it clear that America is strong on its own. Prime Minister Carney listened very carefully while President Trump spoke. He didn't say much at first, but paid close attention to every word. He knew these were important topics for Canada. President Trump kept sharing his views and ideas about what should happen. Mr. Carney stayed calm and focused, taking in all the information. Although they smiled politely, the atmosphere in the Oval Office felt serious because of the big topics they were discussing. Mr. Carney knew he would need to give a clear response to President Trump's ideas. The future of Canada's relationship with the USA could depend on this meeting. Inside the famous Oval Office, President Trump talked for a long time. He shared many ideas about Canada and the USA working very closely together. He even suggested that maybe the two countries could become one. He called this idea a wonderful marriage. President Trump said America was strong on its own. He told Mr. Carney that America didn't really need many things from Canada, like cars or wood. Mr. Carney listened carefully. He looked serious and thoughtful but did not show anger. When President Trump finished, it was Mr. Carney's turn to speak. He was polite but firm. He knew he had to answer clearly. Since President Trump was a famous businessman who often talked about buying and selling, Mr. Carney used a similar idea to explain his point. He looked around the Oval Office and said that some special places are never for sale. He pointed to the White House, where they were meeting, and said it is not for sale. Then he spoke about Canada. He said he had a very important message. Mr. Carney explained that he had met with the owners of Canada, the Canadian people. He said clearly and strongly, Canada is not for sale. He repeated this to make sure everyone understood. Canada is an independent country and wants to stay that way. President Trump listened to Mr. Carney's strong words. It was a clear answer to his ideas. President Trump replied with a short phrase, "Never say never." He meant maybe things could change in the future. Maybe Canada might change its mind one day. But Mr. Carney did not agree. He stayed firm and did not change his position. His message was final. Canada's independence will be protected. Mr. Carney's clear and strong statement became the most famous part of the meeting. People all over the world heard about it on the news. These words showed that Canada and its new leader were serious about protecting their country. Later, Mr. Carney told reporters that he had asked President Trump to stop talking about Canada becoming the 51st state. Mr. Carney said that talk about Canada becoming part of the USA was not good for the relationship between the two countries. Canada wanted to be a partner, not to be taken over. This moment showed that Canada was serious about making its own choices for the future. After Mr. Carney said clearly, Canada is not for sale, he and President Trump started talking about other important subjects. The meeting was about finding ways for the two countries to work together, even when they had different ideas. They needed to talk about rules for doing business and keeping their people safe. A big part of their talk was about trade. Trade is when countries buy and sell things to each other. President Trump had put new taxes on some Canadian goods coming into the USA. These goods included steel, aluminum, and cars made in Canada. Mr. Carney told President Trump that these taxes were not fair. He explained the taxes made Canadian products more expensive in the USA. This was bad for Canadian companies and workers. It also meant American people and businesses had to pay more for these things. Mr. Carney asked President Trump to remove these taxes. President Trump listened, but he did not say he would stop the taxes. He thought the taxes were a useful tool to help get Canada to agree to other U.S. requests. So even after talking a lot, the problem of the taxes was not fixed. They knew they would have to talk more about this problem later. The two leaders also talked about a trade agreement called the USMCA. This agreement is between the USA, Mexico, and Canada. Mr. Carney thought some parts of this agreement might need to change in the future. President Trump seemed to think the agreement was mostly fine. Another important topic was defense. President Trump often said the USA spent a lot of money to protect its friends and allies. He felt other countries, including Canada, should pay more for their own military. Mr. Carney understood President Trump's point. He promised that Canada would spend more money on its army. This means Canada would buy more military equipment and help more in groups like NATO. NATO is a group of North American and European countries that agree to defend each other if one is attacked. Mr. Carney's promise showed he was serious about Canada helping with security. The leaders also talked about the border between Canada and the USA. It is the longest undefended border in the world. Both countries want to keep the border safe. They talked about problems like stopping illegal drugs from crossing the border. President Trump was very worried about this. Mr. Carney agreed it was important. He said Canada would try harder to stop dangerous drugs from crossing the border. Both leaders agreed that working together on border safety was necessary. Energy was another topic they discussed. Canada has a lot of natural resources like oil and gas. Mr. Carney wants Canada to become a big global supplier of energy. He and President Trump talked about ways their countries could work together on energy projects. For example, they talked about pipelines that carry oil and gas. But Mr. Carney also wanted Canada to make its own decisions about energy and who to sell it to. Mr. Carney and President Trump spent a lot of time talking about serious issues. They found some things they agreed on. For example, Mr. Carney promised to spend more money on Canada's military. This was a good step. They also agreed to work together more to keep the border safe. But the hard problem of U.S. taxes on Canadian goods was not solved. It was clear they needed to keep talking to fix this and other disagreements. The meeting ended with some problems still not solved. What people said after the meeting, many people shared their thoughts. In Canada, most people felt proud of Prime Minister Carney. They liked how he clearly said, "Canada is not for sale." He also promised to protect Canada. Many Canadian politicians agreed he did a good job. Leaders from different political groups like the Bloc Québécois, NDP, and Conservative Party supported his strong words. Regular Canadians showed their support too. Opinion polls showed Mr. Carney became more popular after the meeting. Many Canadians thought it was right to stand up to President Trump. News reports in Canada praised Mr. Carney. On social media, many people used the phrase, "Canada not for sale," to show their support and pride. A cartoonist even drew pictures of Mr. Carney looking strong. In the United States, people had different opinions. Many Republicans thought President Trump was doing a good job. Some news channels, like Fox News, said President Trump was a strong negotiator. But many Democrats agreed with Mr. Carney. They said countries need to respect each other, even if they are friends. Big newspapers like the New York Times said Mr. Carney's strong position was understandable and popular in Canada. Some American business leaders were happy that Canada promised to spend more on its military. Other countries in the world watched closely. Leaders in Europe, like in the United Kingdom and Germany, said countries should respect each other. They understood Canada wanted to be independent. The United Nations, a group of many countries, hoped that Canada and the USA would continue good relations and work together. Some people thought countries like China and Russia were watching to see if relationships in North America were changing. After the meeting, the Canadian dollar went up. This usually means business people felt more confident about Canada's economy. News and social media everywhere talked about the meeting between the two leaders. What changes now? The meeting between Mr. Carney and President Trump will change many things for Canada and the USA. It will affect how they trade goods in the future. The rules for buying and selling between the two countries might change. Canada and the USA share a very long border. Many goods cross this border every day. The USMCA is an important trade agreement for Canada, the USA, and Mexico. In 2026, they will review this agreement. Mr. Carney wants to talk about making the agreement fairer for Canada. He thinks new deals could include modern things like digital trade. But President Trump did not agree to remove the new taxes on Canadian steel and cars right away. So Canadian businesses are still waiting for good news. Finding a solution for these trade problems will be a big part of future talks. Canada will strongly protect its important natural resources like oil, forests, and water. Carney wants Canada to become an energy superpower. This means Canada wants to produce and sell a lot of energy. Canada will be careful about who buys Canadian companies and resources. The government will make sure Canada controls its own wealth. Mr. Carney made it clear that Canada will not sell its resources to just anyone who offers the most money. Canada might build new pipelines to sell oil to different countries, not only the USA. This helps Canada have more control and not depend too much on one partner. Working together on security is also very important. The USA and Canada agreed to work more closely to keep their countries safe. Mr. Carney promised Canada will spend more money on its military. This was something President Trump had asked for. By spending more, Canada shows it is a serious partner in NATO. NATO is a group of countries working together for defense. Keeping the shared border safe is a big job. Both countries will help each other stop problems like smuggling illegal drugs. This cooperation makes both nations safer. One meeting cannot solve everything, so more talks will happen soon. Officials from Canada and the USA will have many meetings. Their job will be to discuss the details of any new agreements. It will take time to find answers that both sides like. Prime Minister Carney and President Trump will also meet again at other big international meetings, like the Group of Seven. They will continue to talk about these important subjects. Canada may also try to build stronger trade relationships with other countries in the world. This will give Canada more options. The end of the day. The long and important day of talks in Washington finally ended. The meeting between Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada and President Donald Trump of the USA was finished. After talking in the Oval Office and having a working lunch, Mr. Carney left the White House. He went to the Canadian Embassy and spoke to news reporters. He said the talks with President Trump were constructive. This means they were useful and helped both countries understand each other better. Mr. Carney also said they made progress on some important problems. He repeated that Canada was a strong country and would always protect its own interests. He also said he asked President Trump to stop saying Canada could be the 51st U.S. state because it was not helpful. President Trump said Canada needed to help America in other ways first. About Canada becoming a U.S. state, he said they were not talking about it now, but added, "Never say never." These friendly words showed that talking was possible, but big problems still remained. More work was needed. Both leaders agreed this was not their last talk. Mr. Carney and President Trump plan to meet again soon. Their next meeting would happen at a G7 summit. The G7 is a group of 7 large countries with big economies. This meeting was planned for mid-June and would be held in Canada. Mr. Carney said other officials from Canada and the USA would also start more detailed talks. They would try to make a new plan for how the two countries will work together in the future. Some people, like one Canadian official, felt the meeting was very successful. It helped reduce the immediate stress between the countries. The day finished, but it started a new stage in the relationship. Mr. Carney showed that Canada wanted to be a partner, but also a strong, independent country that makes its own choices. He promised Canada would spend more on its military and help with security. But he also firmly showed that Canada would not be pushed around. The talks showed the two neighbors had many things to keep discussing. The future will test this important relationship. Many people wondered what would happen next between these two leaders. What do you think will be the biggest challenge at their next meeting? Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really helps us make even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a new story. Have a wonderful day, take care, and see you next time.